Come to order. Please call the roll.
Senator Alvarado, Senator Harper Angel, Senator McDaniel, Senator McGarvey, Senator Schroeder, Senator Southworth, Senator Storm, Senator Thayer,
Here.
Senator Wheeler,
Here.
Senator Nemus,
Present.
Senator Mills.
We do have a quorum, so we're going to start off with Senate Bill 224. Senator Douglas, table's yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, committee members, and good afternoon. I'm here to talk about Senate Bill 224, and what this bill addresses, it just applies a local mandate to a police and a fire retirement fund that's really operated wholly within the Lexington urban Fayette County government. I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Senator Don Douglas, District 22. My apologies, Mr. Chair. I have brought with me Mr. Keith Horn. He is an attorney for the Lexington Fayette Urban County government, and he will further talk about the bill and answer any questions.
Please introduce yourself for the record and continue.
Thank you, Chair. I'm Keith Horn. I'm an attorney with the Lexington Fayette Urban County government. Sorry about that. Keith Horn with the Lexington Fayette Urban County government. This is a bill primarily that the Board of Trustees for the Police and Firefighter Pension Fund in Lexington is requesting, mostly a little technical cleanups, and then the final section of it relates to the old City of Lexington Pension Fund. That's a closed fund, and as those members mature, it's getting harder to have people run for election to serve on the board, so that technical change just permits the mayor to make appointments to that board as the fund slowly closes. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Senator McDaniel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So just to be clear, the meat and potatoes too are basically if you're off on a workers' compensation claim, so long as you make a payment as if you were drawing your full salary, you can continue to have your salary calculated on that full salary. Is that accurate?
That is correct. That's probably the most significant change presented in this bill.
Very well. All right. Second.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a motion?
Yes.
Call the roll. Do we have a motion and a second?
Yeah, I made a motion.
Call the roll,
Senator Alvarado,
Yes.
Senator Harper Angel, Senator McDaniel, Senator McGarvey, Senator Nemus,
please. Aye.
Senator Schroeder, Senator Southworth,
Aye.
Senator Storm,
Aye.
Senator Thayer,
Aye.
Senator Wheeler,
Aye.
Senator Mills.
We have 9-0. Would you like it on consent? Second. All in favor of consent, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is on the consent calendar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee.
West here. Is Senator West here?
Yeah, he's here.
He's outside.
No, he's right.
All right. We'll hear Senator West, Senate Bill 4. Introduce yourself, and you have the table.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Happy to present Senate Bill 4 today to the committee. Senate Bill 4 is a priority bill, and I wish Senator Hignan's not here, but I've got in my comments here, this is a good government bill. So I know how Senator Higdon likes good government bills. This creates a process for public input and legislative review of all executive orders filed by the governor. And I'm just going to go through some bullet points of the bill. I guess before I start, I will give some background. Regulations flow through my committee, Administrative Reg Review Committee, and they're mandated by Senate Bill 2 that we filed and passed last year. But executive orders, as it goes now, they kind of hang out there for a while, and they're unable to be reviewed, lack of opportunity for public comment at times. And so all this doesn't really infringe on the power of the governor. It puts the executive orders in an order and sets up a process whereby the legislature can review those orders. So it establishes that upon executing executive order, a governor shall categorize the order within one of 8 categories and shall number them in such a way that expresses the year in which it was filed, and then the governor has to file that with the Secretary of State. And the executive order is not effective until he files it with the Secretary of State. And he can file it whatever day he or she wants. They can file that, go ahead and file that, and it'd be considered effective. The Secretary of State shall forward a copy of the executive order to the Director of LRC. Within 2 working days of receiving the order, the co-chairs of the LRC shall refer the order to either a House or Senate standing committee, and then those committees are allowed to review the order. The LRC staff shall draft legislation prior to each session for introduction in the House and Senate relating to each executive order that had been objected to since the General Assembly was last in session. So that provision of the bill kind of follows existing administrative reg process. And so Administrative Reg Review Committee, we don't have the power to stop an executive order or a regulation per se, but we can find that deficient, put it on a list to give to the legislature, and then when the legislature comes back in, they can act on that deficient administrative reg. This is basically the same process. It's just executive orders instead of regulations. It requires the governor to provide a list of all executive orders. Governors shall identify orders that remain in effect and those that he or she will repeal because they are unnecessary. When a governor leaves office, all executive orders except those filed pursuant to KRS 61-520 shall expire 90 days thereafter. So it sets up a framework where a lot of these executive orders will automatically expire when the governor leaves office. So that's pretty much the essence of the bill. Like I say, it does not infringe upon the executive branch's power. It allows for transparency of the general public, transparency for the legislature, where we can track all these executive orders and let people review them.
Are there any questions? Senator Southworth.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator West, are you aware of any place in current law that details which executive orders currently stand for the test of time, which ones are the ones that expire after the year or without ratification by the General Assembly, like delineates the types of executive orders?
Senator Southworth, I may be showing my ignorance, but I do not know a place in existing statute that details that list. I do know we have resolutions that we pass that will have list of regs and orders that we find null and void, or by passage of that resolution we allow these to proceed and we pull some back. So we have a kind of a hodgepodge of resolutions that deal with these things, but I don't know of one specific place in statute where they all reside.
Okay, thank you.
Senator McGarvey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple of things. One, you've stated this doesn't infringe on executive power. I think it does. And look, there are some executive orders filed by Governor Bevin that I disagreed with. And you never saw us introduce legislation to erode the governor's executive authority. That is the executive branch power. Even though on one of them we had to come in here and pass a statute to clean it up because what his executive order did with the University of Louisville was in violation of statute. But when you say this doesn't infringe on executive authority, one, it requires the executive to do a few more steps. And then, of course, when it says on page 3 of the bill that if the General Assembly rules on this and votes against an executive order, it actually prohibits the governor from adopting an executive order that is identical to or substantially the same as the executive order being declared void for a period of 1 year. That is a current erosion of executive power, isn't it?
I would submit that that's a power that we as the legislature already have. This does not allow us during the interim period as a legislature to rule on an executive order. However, when we come back into session, we can vote to make any executive order null and void, really. I mean, that's within our purview as legislative branch.
Well, I think what we can do now is pass laws that would override the executive order.
Correct.
Right.
That's correct.
But this is actually declaring the executive order null and void without passing a law that would supersede the executive order. And so therefore, when you just declare an executive order null and void and then take away the ability of that executive order to be issued for another year, that is an erosion of executive authority, not the legislature coming back in and actually superseding that, like what happened with Governor Bevin. Governor Bevin issued an executive order that was in clear violation of statute. He took the University of Louisville Board of Trustees from, I believe, 17 to 10 when the statute said it shall have 17 members. We had to come in and clean that up so U of L could keep its accreditation. That got rid of the executive order. Even today, with the bill signing of Senate Bill 6, a priority bill, that started as an executive order. Now the law is what supersedes that executive order, and it's there so that we know there's permanency to it. What we're saying here is simply, no, if we don't like it, we can vote it down and prohibit something similar from being introduced for a year. How is that not an erosion of executive power?
Well, we can, and just FYI, I was on the phone with the executive branch this morning, and I told them they asked to be involved in this process. And this morning was the first time I'd heard from them, and I said, that's no problem. I think this may pass out of committee today, but my door is open if you have suggested changes. So the intent is that from this bill, and we can talk about language in here if you want, but we would have to pass some type of statute to find any executive order null and void. We have to do that now, but there's no intent in here to pull that back. We would still have to pass through both chambers some type of statute finding that executive order null and void. Now, I think what you're talking more about is more prospective actions of the governor. I would suggest we do that all the time in our legislation, in our budget. You know, for a period of 1 year, you can't do this or that. So we could possibly argue about that or split hairs about that, but it's not my intent for there not to be a statute associated with the pullback.
Well, and I guess that gets me to, because I did take one issue with something you said about this allows for more transparency. All executive orders are incredibly transparent, whether it's from a Republican governor or a Democratic governor. They must be made public to be an executive order filed, fully transparent, available to the public. The legislature does have the power to come in and legislate over executive orders. That's why executive orders, they're meant to be issued, but we as a legislative body are ultimately the policy-making body. I don't see how this bill then, what is it doing?
Yeah, I would agree with you that currently executive orders are transparent. Mm-hmm. So the general public can see what that executive order is. That's exactly right. However, this would be, but before they get to my committee, the Administrative Regs Committee, you got a little bit of a lapse. There's 30, 60-day period in there. What this bill would do is allow for public comment on the executive
We have
orders.
a motion in a second.
I'll
Yeah,
quit talking.
and I appreciate that. I know we're into 15-minute committee hearings today, but
You want a
I
third
just
question?
think it's
One more question.
it's not even a question, just comment on the bill. I think that right now the interim committee hearings can hear any topic they want to. We can't vote during the interim. This seems to be a direct reaction to this governor and an attempt to strip away executive power. And I'm happy to work with you on it. I want the legislature to be the policy-making body, but that's what this bill seems to be.
Thank you.
Thank you. we have any other questions? Call the roll.
Senator Alvarado.
Aye.
Senator Harper Angel. Senator McDaniel. Senator McGarvey.
No.
Senator Nemus. Senator Schroeder. Senator Southworth.
Display my vote, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, you may.
Voting yes. You know, I think it's fairly clear. I really don't care who's sitting in the office right this second. I had an executive order from 1992 that I had to hunt down and had been redone since another case, an executive order from 1964 that I had to hunt down. And it's like heirlooms. They pass them from office to office, except for they don't pass them. Staff shows up first day and we are on these boards and they don't exist. And we have to go hunt them down. And so I think the part of this bill that says we need to get these on the record, and then secondly, they need to expire, and they need to get into some kind of, we have a code for a reason. They need to get in some kind of a list somewhere that people have access to instead of just hodgepodging. And so I'm all for that. Some of the parts of this bill do make me a little concerned as far as what's good long-term public policy. But overall, I think it's definitely a good move, and we need to have these things off the books instead of floating around. And if they're really that great, then let's just put them in permanently. Thank you.
Senator Storm. Senator Thayer.
Aye.
Senator Wheeler. Senator Mills.
I vote aye. Senate Bill 4 passes 9-2. Same shall pass with favorable expression onto the Senate floor. Thank you, Senator West. Next up, we're going to go out of order just a little bit to help us schedule. So if Representative Frazier Gordon could come up, we will take on House Bill 351. And if you have any guests with you.
Thank you, Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Representative Deanna Frazier Gordon, District 81 in Madison County.
J.D. Cheney with the Kentucky League of Cities.
Okay, you can move forward.
We began working on House Bill 351 long before recent events in Western Kentucky reminded us of the importance of planning for situations in which vital city records may be lost or damaged. This legislation puts in place options to replace information when a local government makes a good faith effort to replace or recreate a lost, damaged, or destroyed record. This includes tampered records and those that are lost through ransomware or cyber attacks. The committee substitute clarifies that the bill would not apply if a member of a local government or legislative body tampered with a record in an effort to invoke the provisions of the bill. J.D. Carroll with the Kentucky League, or J.D. had to go off script.
That's the only time we've ever been confused with one another. I'll assure you of that.
That is funny.
J.D. with the Kentucky League of Cities will explain more.
First of all, Representative Frazier Gordon kicks me out of her district, and now she forgets my name.
Is there a committee sub on this? We need to adopt a committee sub.
Please.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay. Mr. Cheney.
As Representative Frazier talked about, the committee sub simply adds what we thought we had covered in the original bill. We have had some nice, colorful situations where post-election, a city clerk may go out and take the records to the dumpster and not happy that their candidate didn't win. We really have had dumpster fires with city records. I want to be clear that this bill does not allow this use of this affidavit process on tax records. It does not permit that on anything that has to be filed related to elections where you need original documents. Those are all excluded in the bill. And this only applies where you have a state law that mandates a filing by a city or county government with the state government, and would allow this process, which is detailed. It's not just make it up as you go along. Hey, we accidentally lost a record on this affidavit, to be able to file that to comply with the filing requirements under state statute. If it has to be an ordinance to prove something existed, that's going to be a whole different matter. It's solely for purposes of complying with state filing requirements.
Any questions from members? We have a motion on the bill from Senator Wheeler. Is there a second from Senator Alvarado? If there are not any questions, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Alvarado.
Aye.
Senator Harper Angel. Senator McDaniel. Senator McGarvey. Senator Nemus. Senator Schroeder. Senator Southworth.
Aye.
Senator Storm.
Aye.
Senator Thayer.
Aye.
Senator Wheeler.
Aye.
Senator Mills.
I vote aye, and House Bill 351 passes with favorable expression 11-0. Is there a motion for consent? A motion and a second for consent. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Bill moves on to consent. Thank you so
all very
much.
much.
Thank you.
Very welcome. Next on our agenda, we'll move back up to Representative Bowling. I see him in the back of the room. Representative Bowling, please come forward. He has House Bill 335. If you can introduce yourself for the record, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chairman Mills, members of the committee. Adam Bowling, State Representative, 87th District, Bell and Harlan counties.
Brianna Carroll with the Director of Governmental Affairs with the Kentucky League of Cities.
Very good. The floor is yours.
House Bill 335 is important legislation that follows up with House Bill 7, which created the Advisory Council for Recovery Ready Communities. House Bill 335 clarifies how a governor appoints some representatives to the council. It requires the governor to select from a list of 3 names submitted by organizations that have representatives on the council. We selected these organizations to be part of the council because of their role in the recovery process. House Bill 335 ensures those organizations have a say in who represents them. I want to clarify that we have no issues with anyone currently serving on the council, and all current appointees on the Recovery Ready Advisory Council will continue their terms until January 1st of 2023.
We have a motion from Senator Wheeler, a second from Senator Alvarado on House Bill 335. Any questions? Senator Southworth has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm aware that this is not the first time this has happened in state statute where associations and lobbying organizations have appointments. But the list of 3 names, for example, I mean, we've got a city manager or mayor. There's nearly 1,000 of those in the state, and we're going to narrow it down to 3 names, and the governor's going to have to choose those 3. Is there a reason why we would want the state statute to limit our all the various inputs that the governor could be looking at? Even if he asks the League of Cities, why should the League of Cities only have 3? I mean, what if they have 7? What if they have 4? I mean, it seems very limiting.
It's actually consistent with other boards. There are several boards that we have this same appointment authority to. Kentucky Public Pensions Authority, the Infrastructure Authority, the several other boards. These, when we ran the statutes, there are only 3 boards that are left. Thank you. There are only 3 boards: Animal Control Advisory Board, Geographic Info Advisory Council, Infrastructure Authority, Libraries, Archives, Public Transportation, School Safety Board, Transportation Center, Kentucky Wireless, several. So what happened was we ran the statutes. We've had a couple issues. One was that we've left off because that is currently running through the process in another bill, which is Kentucky Board of EMS. So we did not address that here. What is here are two boards that were left off, and one is the Kentucky Law Enforcement Council because it just says a mayor, and so the governor just appointed a mayor, and so we want to make sure that it is a collaborative process, and that we are able to submit 3 names so it's consistent with just as we submit for the rest of the other boards that we go through the same process.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for that explanation. I just want to register that a mayor doesn't necessarily mean that the lobbying organization needs to submit their name. I think a mayor is a little bit looser than that, and so I don't see, it'd be one thing if the statute said a submission from the Kentucky League of Cities and we specified they shall submit 3 names, but that's not what this says, and so I think this is a bigger leap than it sounds. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or concerns? We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Alvarado.
Aye.
Senator Harper Angel. Senator McDaniel. Senator McGarvey. Senator Nemeth,
Aye.
Senator Schroeder, Senator Southworth,
No.
Senator Storm,
Aye.
Senator Thayer,
Aye.
Senator Wheeler,
Aye.
Senator Mills.
I vote aye. House Bill 335 passes, and same should move on to the Senate floor 823. Thank you, Representative Bowling.
Thank you, Chairman Mills and committee.
Okay, next is Representative Branscombe. I see him in the back. If you want to move forward. This is House Bill 399. Representative Branscombe, if you can introduce yourself and your guests for the record.
Josh Branscombe, Kentucky State Representative, 83rd District.
Brianna Carroll, Kentucky League of Cities.
Very good. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. Appreciate the opportunity to be here with you today to discuss House Bill 399. This bill broadens when in-house citizens can comment on local government spending priorities of state funds received through local government, economic assistance funds, and municipal road aid funds. House Bill 399 allows for those citizen comments at a time that may be more convenient for the citizens when they can address several issues simultaneously instead of requiring a specially called public meeting. City officials tell us that usually no one attends these public hearings. However, citizens will often attend their regularly scheduled council or commission meeting. The measure also addresses municipal audits. Current law permits an exemption for annual audits of cities with no long-term debt that take in or spend less than $75,000. This bill raises that exemption threshold amount to $150,000. And just for reference, that amount has not been raised since 1996. This helps address problems our smaller cities face in finding an auditor to conduct their audit on the current timetable. And additionally, the cost of these audits can represent 5% or more of those cities' annual budgets. We also extend by 1 month the amount of time local governments have to complete an audit and file with the Department of Local Government, something that helps cities struggling to find qualified auditors. Brianna Carroll with the Kentucky League of Cities is here with me today and will provide more insight on the bill and why this is important to our municipalities.
Allowing cities to hear public comments on these regular funds or regular public meetings instead of requiring a special separate hearing benefits our citizens and our municipalities. It allows citizens an opportunity to be more engaged in the local government process because regularly scheduled council or commission meetings cover various topics instead of just addressing those specific use of funding. Additionally, our cities would not have the extra expense of advertising and holding a special meeting that often has no attendance. By requiring a local government to provide public notice of the opportunity to comment on state-funded projects, we ensure that these residents know when they can address that topic. Around 30 cities would fall under the current audit exemption by receiving and spending less than $75,000 a year, and increasing the spending limit to less than $150,000 adds another 27 cities. This would be the first time since 1996 in 26 years that the General Assembly has changed that exemption level. The bill adds a new requirement for attestation engagements for our cities that claim the exemption for 4 consecutive years. In that regard, it adds a new level of accountability for cities that have not had an independent assessment for their financial statement for several years. Many of our cities have struggled to find auditors to complete their reports within the current statutory time frame. This legislation will reduce the demand for these services and allow auditors to focus on cities that receive and spend considerable amount of money. With that, we would
Any
request
questions
your
or
support.
concerns for this bill? Okay. Motion will be in order. We have a motion from Senator Wheeler, second from Senator Schroeder. If there are not any questions, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Alvarado.
Aye.
Senator Harper Angel. Senator McDaniel. Senator McGarvey. Senator Nemeth.
Aye.
Senator Schroeder. Senator Southworth.
Aye.
Senator Storm.
Aye.
Senator Thayer.
Aye.
Senator Wheeler. Senator Mills.
I vote aye. House Bill 399 passes 11-0. Same shall move on to the Senate floor. We have a motion for consent from Senator Nemus, a second from Senator Alvarado. All in favor say aye. Aye. House Bill 399 will move on to our consent agenda. Thank you, Representative Branscombe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee.
Our final item on our agenda today is House Bill 453. Representative Dixon, if you want to come forward.
Did we do Senate Bill 212?
It got passed over because there's problems with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
He didn't announce that. Did he announce it?
I don't think so.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. If you can introduce yourself and your guest, and the floor will be yours.
Absolutely. I'm Representative Jonathan Dixon from the 11th District, and I will let my guests introduce themselves.
J.D. Cheney with the Kentucky League of Cities.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for hearing House Bill 453, which will protect public assets while ensuring transparency. House Bill 453 provides local governments the same protection currently in statute for the state when selecting a successful bidder. It also clarifies the rules for video teleconference meetings, something that all of us have been forced to transition to during the pandemic. I feel it's important to stress that we have worked with the Kentucky Press Association when drafting this bill, and that any documents discussed in this bill are subject to the Open Records Act. J.D. Cheney with the Kentucky League of Cities is here to provide more details on this important piece of legislation. J.D.
Yeah, I'll reemphasize the point that we collaborated extensively with the Kentucky David Thompson, John Fleischaker, and Michael Abadi with the Kentucky Press Association to craft this piece of legislation that codifies what you all approved in Senator Alvarado's Senate Bill 150 that we've been operating in, and the Attorney General opinions that have come about video teleconferencing meetings. This would make that permanent. We've seen increased participation by the public in meetings as a result of that with doing video teleconferencing. It ensures the public has access to those, as well as the media, which was very important to the Press Association, obviously. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions or concerns? Senator Southworth has a question.
Yeah, I have a question about this on bottom of page 4 going into page 5, and it talks about specifically not having more than 2 executive sessions for conducting a performance evaluation of the city manager. It seems extremely specific in a fairly broad covering law. So can you explain what world happened? Why are we picking this one thing out?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Senator Southworth. That section only amends the statutes that's applicable to city governments that are organized under the mayor or under the city manager form of government. There are 19 of them in Kentucky. If I'm really pressed, I can name out all 19, but I can tell you Henderson, Winchester, Newport, in this committee, Pikeville, Frankfort, all organized under that city manager form of government. Richmond, Bowling Green, they're all organized there. And what the City Attorneys Association came to us with, and the mayors in those communities came to us with, was an issue with being able to have a candid discussion. Those city managers in that form of government report to 5 people, that board of commissioners. And they can't have a candid discussion about a performance evaluation without that being open, unless they want to do so, Senator Southworth, under the auspices of saying that performance evaluation discussion would lead, I left off Covington, I saw Senator McDaniel there, would lead to the appointment or discipline or termination of the individual. Well, not every performance evaluation discussion is going to lead to the discipline or termination of that city manager. And it says if there's a record created, it goes out. So in working with the Press Association, we had at first proposed to provide a broader exemption for any circumstance where that occurs, and the Press Association was much more comfortable with us narrowing it in just applicable to that city manager form of government.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll echo on that. I mean, it was always on our city commission. It was always unusual to have make a motion that said, you know, you're going in for a review of the city manager, and it made it sound like that you were getting ready to fire him. So it created some stress. Any other questions or concerns? If not, a motion will be in order. Motion. Okay, we have a motion from Senator Thayer, second from Senator Alvarado. Oh, Wheeler. The first motion was Wheeler, second was Senator Alvarado. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Alvarado.
Aye.
Senator Harper Angel. Senator McDaniel. Senator McGarvey. What was
That was a no.
Okay. Senator Nemus.
Aye.
Senator Schroeder. Senator Southworth.
Aye.
Senator Storm.
Aye.
Senator Thayer.
Aye.
Senator Wheeler. Senator Mills.
I vote aye. House Bill 453 passes with favorable expression 10-1 and shall move on to the Senate floor. Thank you, Representative Dixon.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. Thank you.
Yes. So- and let me make sure that the announcement was made at the beginning that Senate Bill 212 we're passing over. That may show up in a future agenda. If there are not any other items before the agenda, we stand adjourned.